continuing with Wherever You Go, this devotional, and this one today is called On Every Side. This is another war, another story in the Old Testament about a fearful experience, and this time we're looking at the leader that's trying to encourage his people. From one thing to another in this life, we never know what we're going to wake up to face, and it seems like we're then taunted to give in to fear that God might not come through for us and He might leave us to die. And our poor leaders and pastors and parents and even national leaders, they don't know what to say to encourage us. I've had days when nothing anyone would say would even encourage me at all because I just want to be pitiful. So in 2 Chronicles 32, there's this leader, Hezekiah, and there's an army from Assyria confronting his people, Hezekiah's people, threatening war. And Hezekiah is the one that has to encourage the people. And basically in verse 7, he says, "Be strong and full of courage. Don't be afraid because of this army, because there's a greater power with us than with him. He only has fleshly arms, but we have God to fight our battles." And guess what? This gave the people confidence. If you've ever been in a position of leadership at home or at church or in your work or anywhere, you've no doubt come up against financial issues, kid problems, disunity, or other friction among friends, and you felt like the enemy was taunting you. Fear is all around and in those you serve and lead, and you don't know what to say either. So the best thing to do is point to the one. It's always best to remind those we serve and ourselves of the greater power within us than any army against us, and that we have God's strong arm, and we don't have to depend on our weak arms. But then comes this thing called the taunt. This evil army that was coming against them, that leader started asking the people, why are you going to believe your leader and what he said about God? He tells them that they're actually going to die from thirst and hunger, and he reminds them of all the times they've been defeated and how other armies were not able to stand against him, that they were all defeated and that there was no way God was going to help them. The enemy army placed God in the same category as all the gods that others trusted in and saw defeat. And in verse 18 it says the taunting was to make the people terrified and afraid so that they could then be captured. That's how we become entrapped in discouragement, when we listen to taunts and mistruths about God, and then fear blinds us and makes us a sitting target. So Hezekiah, this leader, cries out in prayer, and guess what? The Lord sent an angel to annihilate all the fighting men in that Assyrian camp that had just taunted God's people. And that king withdrew to his own land in disgrace, and it says some of his own sons cut their father down with the sword. Pretty violent stories sometimes in the Bible. And in verse 22, the end of the story, it says Hezekiah and all the people were saved, and that God took care of them on every side. That's the name of this devo. I've experienced taunting and questioning and the displacement of God in my own mind with whispers like, what if and why, and if he really loved you, he'd do this. Taunting seems the worst when we're tired, isolated, and under attack. So if you're tired, make sure you rest so that your mind is clear and recount and recall and recite all of his goodness to you and yours. If you're isolated, that's not a good place to live for a long period of time, because we need each other. And we need those in our lives that will speak of the goodness of God and pray and believe with us. Are you feeling like you're under attack? Choose to believe in God's goodness and provision and not in the lies that he will abandon and forsaken. Taunting is akin to bullying, and no one wants that for their children or themselves. We do hope for a Spider-Man lift or a Batman rescue car or the strong arm of Iron Man, but God isn't a storybook character that appears when things look dark to whisk us away on a night ride through the sky. He is a God, however, that defends his name and will have no other gods before him. So when his name is being threatened and his character attacked, we can run to him and find rest in those arms that will encircle us, and we can watch from the vantage point of how he chooses to defeat every enemy and who dares to speak against the one who made us, cares for us, and watches over us. Enemies will taunt, and we might be dry and thirsty for a season, and our flesh will grow tired, and even if we're a leader or if we're the one being led. But there's a power inside each one of us that when we call on his name and lean on his strong arm, we can be encouraged. So if you're discouraged, find an encourager. If you're tired, choose rest and let go of your list of to-dos. And if you're under attack, seek his face and turn away from lies. The Lord will take care of you too on every side, because that's the God we serve. Be encouraged.